Hi, fourth grade. This is Mrs. Nelson. How are you? I'm really excited to be here today, live from my living room. I was trying to figure out exactly how to present your lessons because some of your lessons have video. So I'm displaying it on my TV, so I'm hoping this works for you. I really miss all of you. I hope you guys are doing okay. I will be setting up some telehealth and some video stuff so that way you can check in with me if you need to. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Today I really quickly wanted to go over the empathy poster. We went over this before, but we're going to do it again because I think it's important that we remind ourselves what empathy is and remembering compassion. And so empathy is feeling or understanding what someone else is feeling. And how we do that is by looking at other people's facial or body cues. So noticing somebody if they're hurt or sad and be able to have empathy for them. I gave you the example of Mrs. Nelson outside and I accidentally kicked the ball and hit somebody in the face with it. You know, a lot of you raised your hand and stated that you've experienced that before, so you know how that feels, right? And so that's the best explanation I can of empathy, to be able to understand, put yourself in somebody else's shoe and understand where they're coming from. Asking how he or she is doing is showing empathy, finding out how you can help, and then what is a kind thing that you can say or do to help that person who is struggling, okay? So compassion is empathy in action. Compassion is so important, especially today in our insanity of our world that's going on right now. Having compassion for our family, our siblings, whoever we're with on a daily basis, to be able to realize that we're all in this together and we can all make it through it. It's going to be okay. So compassion, be caring and concerning for our humankind, right? Okay. So we are going to start our lesson today with conversation and compliments to our friends or other people. Making new friends can be really hard. One way to start is by making that conversation. You know, we talk about meaningful ways to do that by walking up and just saying hello, inviting someone to go play with us, showing that you're interested in the person, asking them questions. Remember, we talked about what are some ways to be an active listener, asking questions, looking the person in the eye. So yeah, and so we're going to have a story from Derek today. And it's a situation that happened at a school. And let's see what happens. Maybe, if I can find my remote. All right.
At the beginning of the year, I didn't know all the kids in my class very well. There was this one kid, Carlos. He seemed nice, and I thought we might have some stuff in common. He's always drawing, and I like to draw too. I felt kind of nervous starting a conversation with him.
Okay. So, he's pretty nervous about starting that conversation with him, but he really likes drawing, right? So, when we start a conversation, a good way to do it is maybe making a compliment. A compliment should be genuine. It should come from your heart or what you really mean. Giving a compliment or a put up, like push up, put up, right? Shows that you care about someone else's feelings and that you want someone else to feel good too. And so we're going to watch two scenes. In the first scene, you're going to see Derek trying to make a conversation with another boy, and boy from his class, Carlos, and watch carefully for what is not working. Okay? What is not working.
What's that? Nothing. Hey, I just want to see what you were doing. I like tacos. So? Hey, you want to stay the night at my house this weekend? Huh?
That was awkward, right? Oh boy. He was really nervous. He didn't know what to say, did he? It wasn't that he was trying to be rude or that he was just being very blunt, but he just didn't know how to start that conversation very well, did he? And then when he asked for him to spend the night, the kid was like, why would I spend the night at your house? I don't even know you, right? So one of the things about starting conversations is going up and introducing yourself and be able to say, hey, I really like your drawing or whatever. But could Carlos have done the conversation better? Absolutely, right? We work on this, all the time in our sessions, our group. And so conversations can start better. Being kind to one another, identifying each other's strengths, finding the win-win in our situation, seek first to understand, to be understood. So these are all great ways to start that conversation. So we're going to see him do it again. Let's see if he can do it better this time.
Hi, Carlos. What are you working on? It's a drawing of a dog. Wow, that's really good. I like the way you drew its face. Thanks. Do you have a dog? No, my mom's house is too small to have a dog. But my uncle has a dog. Oh, really? What kind? It's a German Shepherd. Oh, like police dogs. Yeah. I have a really good book about police dogs. I'll bring it to school tomorrow and show you at recess. Okay, thanks. Well, I'll see you later. See ya.
That went away better, right? Way better, Did you notice the conversation and how it went different than the first time? First time, kind of awkward, went up, talked about tacos, just out of the blue. And the kid's like, okay, right? But this time, he said hello, mentioned his name, sat down, didn't stand next to him, so that way they're eye to eye, making that eye contact, complimented him on his drawing. So he did all those more comfortable approaches where Carlos then was able to respond back. And sometimes that's really hard for fourth grade or even a lot of students because they're really shy or nervous or they lack confidence, and so it's really important to take that first step. If you look at the different voices from Derek from the first time to the second time, the first one, if you noticed that Derek's response were very short and abrupt, where the second time Derek was more soft-toned, took time to process thought, be able to ask appropriate questions. And so, as you can tell, the tone of voice was also different in both approaches, and that's really important too. Okay? Would you say Derek was aggressive, assertive, or passive this time? So if you look at, we've been talking about passive, aggressive, and assertive. And so let me remind you again, because it's been a couple of weeks since we've met. So assertive is getting what I want or need by being respectful. And aggressive is getting what I want or need by being disrespectful. Okay. And then passive is not engaging or not speaking up for oneself, okay? And if you remember right, we did a lesson a couple weeks ago about Foursquare game that was going on, And that girl that was very aggressive came through the line, pushing people out of the way because she wanted to be first in Foursquare. And then that kid, the boy, just kind of shut down. He's like, hey, wait. And then he just let her like go ahead. That's passive. Like, you know, he knew what she was doing was wrong, but he really didn't feel the confidence to be able to stand up for that. Okay? So, yeah, passive. So if we look at Derek, and we look at his second approach, would you say it was assertive, aggressive, or passive? Assertive, right? He was able to meet his need of getting to know Carlos, but doing it in a respectful manner, right? Yeah. Okay. Think of one thing Derek did or one thing Carlos did to keep the conversation going. Give you some think time on this for a minute. What is one thing that each of them did to keep the conversation going? So go ahead and take some think time. What Mrs. Nelson noticed was they both asked questions. They both shared a little bit of their own story. Seeing what they had in common. If you agree with that, I would love to hear from you. I'd like to hear what your responses are. You can email me, or we can, telehealth or however you want to do that. But I would really love to hear your thought processes on what you saw and what you thought. So moving ahead, Derek noticed that Carlos was working really hard on a drawing. What did Derek do to show that he was interested? So I know a lot of you, after we have our lesson, you guys get library time, and we have the art center. And so a lot of you take time to draw and share each other's drawings. What are some ways that you may engage with some of your classmates when they are doing their drawings? Maybe give them compliments, right? Yeah. Ask more questions. Okay? And so that's kind of what Derek did with Carlos, right? Okay? When you look at Derek's appearance, how do you know, like going for cues, remember we talk about cues, facial cues, body cues. What did you notice about his compliment? Do you think it was sincere? Do you think he really genuinely wanted to know about his drawing? Yeah. And how did you know that though? What cues came from that? Think about that for a minute. What cues happened? I noticed that he sat down so he could have eye-to-eye contact, right? That he described what Carlos was drawing, really talked about the head and how he liked how the head was drew, okay? And so that's how you can tell if somebody's really interested in you, or how you can show interest in someone else, is be able to be more specific on what you are complimenting the person on. Okay? So we talked how Derek made a sincere compliment, and I would really like you guys to work either in your homes or with a classmate on FaceTime, something like that. But I would like you to work on complimenting and opening up a conversation with another person, okay? And this could be anybody. It could be your parents, grandparents. I mean, you could FaceTime, whatever you need to do. But your homework is, I would really like you to take a moment to start a conversation with someone, get to know a couple of new things about them. Even as parents, like there's a lot of stuff my kids don't know that you could probably think of to ask. So I want you to start having that dialogue and that conversation to figure out what starting a conversation looks like, what questions to ask, maybe entering some compliments and really kind of practicing on that during this break time. And I would love to hear about it. So please send me an email or we figure out some way of contacting each other, because you're very important to me and I would love to hear from you. All right, that's all I got for this lesson. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Miss ya.